Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Right. So I have not taken introduction of each one of you because it will take a lot of time. But I'm hoping like we have a mixed people over here, like who has some SAP experience and who are some of you are kind of freshers as well, right? So before we actually dive in to the functionalities what we have in EWM and what EWM can give us, let us first try to understand how the warehouse looks like, right? And how we can map our processes in this kind of different warehouses, right? So before we actually map any process, we should understand the warehouse, right? The layout of the warehouse. So I'm just demonstrating the picture of very common warehouse or very simple warehouse, which you will see widely, right? This is very simple warehouse, and you can easily see this kind of warehouses around, right? But there are more complex warehouses as well, which will be very big, and they will have a lot of different areas within the warehouse, right? But to begin with, okay, or just to give a quick introduction of a few of the important aspects within the warehouse, right? So the warehouse looks like this. Okay, so in a warehouse, okay, we have some important areas, right? So we will have the inbound area, right? So inbound area in the sense, so whenever we receive any goods, okay, from a supplier, okay, or from any external party, right? So those goods will be received in this particular area, right? And you see these are the trucks or the trailers which are docked on this particular doors. So all the warehouses will have definitely the doors, right, where your trucks or the containers will be loaded, docked, and then the unloading will happen, right? So this is very important area which will be available in any of the warehouse, right? So it's a staging area, inbound staging area, right? Then another important area in your warehouse will be, so as we have the inbound, definitely we should also have the outbound, right? Because in warehouse we not only store the goods, we also have to ship out the goods, right? So we will definitely need one outbound area, right? So this area you see over here, this is my outbound area from where I am loading my trucks, okay? And then eventually I'll perform the shipping, right? So these are the two commonly used areas within any of the warehouse. Forget about WM, EWM, whatever it is, but the physical layout of the warehouse will be 99% of the times it will be like this. Okay. So there are a few more important areas which you should be aware of in the warehouse, right? So now here we have received the goods, let's say from the supplier, right? And then what you do generally, you do the unloading, right? So the unloading will happen in this area, right? So this area we can tell, or we can term it as a staging area. But we never keep our goods in this area, right? Because that is not what we want. Otherwise, how we will keep on unloading the goods whenever we receive another truck or another container, right? So we have to move this pallets, or we have to move this material, I would say, right, from this area to some another area, right? So in our warehouse, we will have a specific area or a storage area where we will store our goods, right? Now, this storage area is very generic term, right? We can have a different types of storage area, which I'll try to explain in a bit, right? So we will have some storage area where we will actually go and place our goods. Okay, so this is also one of the important area in your warehouse, right? But you can see, right, or you can the people who have visited the warehouse, or even worked in the warehouse management, they will know, right? Like, it's not very straightforward. Once the goods are received in the staging area, it will never be directly moved to your final storage area. In between, you may have some workstations in the sense, you may want to perform some physical inspection or the quality inspection, right? So you will, in your warehouse, you will also have those kind of areas which are called as the work center areas, and here you will perform some manual activities, or quality inspection, or whatever it could be. I'm just giving a simple example of visual inspection, right? So you will have this kind of areas also in your warehouse, Okay, same way, okay, at the time of outbound also, right? So if you want to perform picking in the sense, like, let's say you have received an order from the customer, so obviously you will have to perform the picking of those products. So before you actually move those products, or before you actually load those products on a truck, you need to perform some, value add service. For example, you may have to perform some labeling, right? Or you may have to perform some packing, right? Because your customer may need a product in a specific packing material, or they may need a product with a specific labels, right? So you will have those kind of areas also in your warehouse, which will be utilized, okay, before you actually move the goods out of your warehouse. Right, so this is a very simple example of a warehouse layout, which you will see in most of the scenarios. Okay, so the idea behind showing you this is because before we go into EWM, right, we need to first understand what are the few important, terminologies or the jargons which we will be using mostly in when we go into the system, right? So these are the mostly important used terminologies like staging areas, storage areas, packaging areas. Yeah, so that's the reason I just explained you this first before going into the technicalities. Okay, then if I go into the next slide, right? So here you see these are the different storage areas, okay, which I was talking about, right? So in the previous slide, okay, so I said that we will have a storage area, and the storage area is a very generic term, but there are a lot of different types of storage area which will be available in your warehouse. Okay, so you need to understand whenever you visit a warehouse, or whenever you try to learn EWM, or whenever you want to implement EWM, you first needs to understand your storage areas. What kind of storage area, okay, you will have in your warehouse, right? So these are few of the commonly used storage areas which I have mentioned in this picture, right? So if you see on the top left corner, this particular storage area, right? So what do you see over here? These are the racks, right? So this kind of racks, okay, you would have seen in some our Walmart stores and all as well, right? Where they actually keep the goods. Okay, so the wholesale malls, I'm saying, I'm not talking about the retail malls. So you will see majorly this kind of setup in the Walmarts, right? So what is this pallet storage area basically, and in which scenario we will use this, right? So the pallet storage, as you can see over here, right? So we generally, whenever we want to store a goods, okay, uh, in a package, right? So here you see the goods are stored in a package. So these are stored in a box, right? And the box is placed on the pallet, and then pallet is placed on this particular rack, right? So this is a warehouse storage system in which I would say goods and materials are stored on some wooden or plastic pallets, and then pallets are placed on this particular racks, right? So these are not the loose products. These are the products which are packed on the boxes and then on the pallets, right? So it is easy to store and easy to move from one place to another. So we can move this kind of pallets from one place to another using some, in a warehouse we will have some machines, the forklifts and all, which can be used to move this kind of pallets from one place to another. So this is one type of storage area, right? But your warehouse, it's not necessary that it will always have this kind of products which can be stored on pallets, right? You may also have this kind of warehouse, right? I mean storage area in your warehouse. So here in the bottom corner of this picture, you can see that in this storage area, right? What I'm trying to explain over here is, here these are the shelf storage, right? So the shelf storage is like whenever you want to store the goods. So let's say you are receiving the loose products in the sense the nuts and bolts, yeah, some washers, or a low volume, the low value material, right? And which you are always buying it in bulk, and you just want to store it in this kind of bins so that it can be easily used by the warehouse operators, or easily picked by the warehouse operator for their production activities, right? So this is one type of storage area, shelf storage, and this you would have seen in our day-to-day shopping areas as well, right? Like in DMart or Big Bazaar, you will see this kind of shelf storages. Okay, so this is also one of the storage area which you should be aware of. right? Then we also have something called as, so you see this picture, the drums which are in blue color, right? So this kind of storage area, we call it as the, the bulk storage area, right? So what is bulk storage? Okay, so the bulk storage area is, I would say, it will not have the structured storage as it is in the shelf storage or in the pallet storage. So everything will be stored on the floor, right? And the entire floor can be termed as a one bin, right? And we store everything in that bin so that it can be easily picked by the users. They don't have to worry about from which bin I have to pick, and from which bin I don't have to pick, and all that, right? So that is what the bulk storage area is. So the bulk storage area, majorly they refer to the liquid products, right? Such as petroleum or maybe industrial supplies, such as some construction materials and all that, right? So those kind of materials, right? The petroleum products, the liquid products, or the construction materials, those will be stored in this kind of storage areas, right? Because they cannot be stored in the pallets, right? We cannot store it into the pallets, otherwise it's not easy to manage. If you see, if I want to place this particular drum on this rack, then it is not I mean, I can do that, but then I will not be utilizing my space properly, right? So that's the reason we need to understand, depending on the product which we are storing, we need to understand which storage area we should have in the warehouse, right? Then we also have this work center related storage areas, right? So what is work center? Okay, so as I said, in most of the warehouses, it's not like that you just receive the goods, okay, from your supplier and move it to your final storage area, right? Before you actually move your goods to the final storage area, you may want to perform some quality inspection. You may want to perform some value add services, like you may want to perform oiling or greasing if you are in automobile industry. Before actually you put your nuts and bolts into your shelf storage, you may want to perform the oiling of those products, right? So that oiling is basically what? It's an activity. So where do we perform the activities in a warehouse? The activities are performed in a storage area called as a work center, right? So this is our work center related storage area, right? And one more commonly used open storage area is the open storage area, meaning this is like I have a floor on my warehouse, and I don't want any restrictions. Okay, whatever I want, I can I let's say I have 15 to 20 products for which I really don't want to break my head to identify where actually in which bin that those products should go and all that. So for those kind of scenarios, I can simply tell to the system that, okay, for those products, simply go and store those products in this open storage. So it's an open storage. It will not have many bins. It will be just one bin where we will be storing the goods. Yeah. So this is also one of the important thing which you all should understand before we actually, understand any ERP system, whether it is a WM, EWM, or whatever it is, right? So we should first always understand the warehouse layout. We should understand what kind of storage areas we have in our warehouse. Then, based on that, we need to map it into the system. Okay, so that is about the storage areas, right? Now, coming to more technical part, not technical, I would say, but conceptual part, right? So we have a different stock management system in SAP now, right? So if you guys are aware of, like, if you are having some SAP background, then you must be already aware of all these terminologies. But if not, then let me give a quick explanation, right? So in SAP, we manage the stocks at different level. Okay, so the first level, okay, which we generally use, okay, if we are having a warehouse which is not that big, and if we don't want to, manage the stock at very minute level, right? So we don't want to capture that, okay, where is my product, whether it is in my shelf bin, or if it is in my pallet bin, or if it is in my bulk storage area. So if you don't want to do all those stuff, and you simply just want to see that, okay, the stock is available in my warehouse, that is enough for me, then that kind of process is called as the IM managed storage location, right? So those kind of storage is called as the inventory managed storage location. So here we don't actually store the goods at the warehouse, I mean at the bin level, right? Not at the storage area level, right? So that is called as the IM managed, meaning inventory managed storage location. So here in this flowchart, you can see, right? So I will have a plant, right? And in that plant, I will have the storage locations. So if I just go with the inventory managed solution, then in that case, I will be managing my stock at the storage location level itself. I will not drill down further. I will not go into the warehouse levels, and I will not go into the storage level and all that, right? So that is the first thing. Okay, then we have the WM managed. Okay, WM in the sense warehouse managed stock, right? So in this, goods are maintained at the bin level. So if I so in the previous slide, we saw that, right? These are the different storage areas, right? So for example, this is a shelf storage, right? So this is my storage area, and you see all this containers, small containers are nothing but these are called as the bins in SAP, right? So if I want to implement SAP, and if I decide that, okay, I want to have some more control of my stock, I want to have a minute control of my stock, then I can say that, okay, we will go with the warehouse management. Okay, and if I say that, okay, if I want to go with the warehouse management, then okay, then at what levels stock will be managed? It will be managed at the bins level. So user will easily come to know that, okay, if I need to do good receipts of my nuts and bolts, then those needs to be kept in this green bins, for example. If I'm doing a good receipts, okay, of a pallet or of a box, carton box, then it will be stored in this particular bin, right? Or in this particular storage area. So that is the WM managed thing. So here you can see that goods are maintained at the bin level. Okay, so that is the difference between the IM and WM. Okay, now in WM we have a different terminologies, and also we will not go into the details of it, but conceptually the goods are managed at the bin level when it comes to the WM, right? So here you can see now these are my different storage locations, and now I want to manage it at the warehouse level. So this is how the structure will look like, right? So we will have a warehouse, then inside a warehouse, right, we will as I explained before, we should first understand the layout of our warehouse. Then depending on the layout of our warehouse, we need to decide what kind of storage areas we have in our warehouse, right? So that is nothing but our storage type. So in our store, we need to define how many storage areas we will need in our warehouse. And then in each storage area, we will have the bins, right? As I shown in the previous picture. In my pallet storage, I will have some different kind of bins. In my shelf storage, I will have some different kind of bins, right? So this is what we do if we go with the WM managed inventory, that is warehouse management, right? Okay. Now, coming to the core part, that is EWM or extended warehouse management. Okay, nowadays, if you all know, right, like WM is going to be, the SAP is going to stop support for this warehouse management maybe in 26 or 27, right? So most of the companies are now shifting towards the EWM, right? So EWM is also managing the stock at the bin level. Okay, so in that sense, it is okay. It is same as the WM managed, right? But there are a lot of functionalities and additional functionalities which are available in EWM, okay, which were never there in the WM world, right? So so that is an advantage. I'll show you what are the different features, some important features. Of course, we cannot go into the details of every feature right now in this short session, right? But we will just catch up on some important things which are heart of EWM, I would say. Okay, so if I just slide in, going to the next slide. So here you see, I mean, this is again a technical thing. We will not go into the details, but just to give you a quick high-level overview, right? So in EWM also, we will have the plant, storage locations, and warehouse. From SAP point of view, we will also have a storage types, right? As we discussed, the pallet storage or the bulk storage or the shelf storage. Then we will also have the bins, right? But there are some additional features in EWM such as activity areas, right, which was not there in WM, right? So what activity area does basically, it allows us, okay, or the users to group multiple bins into one area, right? So so depending on the activities, right, in our warehouse we have multiple activities. What activities we have? We have the picking activity, right? We perform picking, we perform GR, we perform good receipts, or we perform put away, we perform physical inventory, right? So all these are activities. So depending on these activities we can group the bins. And what significance it provides, or what advantage it provides the activity area, is it helps users, okay, to manage their work efficiently. So for example, if I want to perform a picking, right, then user will, system will guide the users to follow a correct path, so they will not, go haywire. They will just, the system will tell the users that, okay, you need to follow a specific path from this area to this that area and all that. So that is a feature available in EWM, right? So we can discuss this in details later, but just a quick overview of it, right? So that is about the activity area, right, which is one of the very good feature in EWM. I would say powerful tool, which was never there, which were never there in the uh, WM, right? Now, a few more important things, okay, in EWM, which I really feel that has helped not only users but even the functional consultants. Okay, so for example, we have a concept called as the RF concept of RF devices, that is radio frequency devices, right? So what actually this device does is it helps users, okay, to scan certain barcodes in a warehouse, and after scanning, okay, the in system we can actually confirm certain activity. So let's say if I'm picking something and if I scan it, then in the system that picking activity gets confirmed automatically, right? So that is the RF functionality. Now it was there in WM as well, right? We even had the RF functionality in WM, right? But in WM, okay, in warehouse management, this RF functionality was very much, I would say, it was not very flexible, right? Even if you want to customize something, or even if you want to customize the menu. So for example, you see this menu, right? So if you don't want to, for one of the user, let's say if you don't want him to see this particular menu, right? You want them to see a specific menu, right? So if you want to have a user level control, right? So if I am, let's say if I'm working in a warehouse, right, and I am responsible only to perform the good receipts, right, then I should not able to see this outbound related activity in my screen, right? I should not able to see all this ad hoc activities. I should only be displayed the inbound related activities in my screen, right? So in WM world, it was very difficult to manage all these things. So what EWM gives us, it gives us flexibility to customize the screens according to the business requirement, and it can be doable by the functional consultants themselves, right? So functional consultant can create their own menus depending on the user's requirement, can shuffle depending on the requirements, and it's very easy to manage the screens and to manage these menus in EWM compared to the older versions of WM and IM, right? So this is one of the additional feature, or the good feature, I would say, which we have in the EWM. Apart from this, okay, there are a few more important tools or important functionalities which EWM provides. Okay, so for example, okay, so I'll not go into again the details, like there are some technical things in EWM, right, which we called as the warehouse tasks and orders and all that. Okay, so this we can see anyways later, right? But what I'm trying to demonstrate over here is the important functionalities which EWM is providing us, and using which we can improve our efficiency in the warehouse. And if you are working in a service industry, then you can, use this kind of presentation, and you can sell it to your customers, or you can convince to your customers why EWM is better and why you should implement or why you should go with this. Okay, so one of the important functionality which EWM provides is of a process-oriented storage control, right? So we have a different storage processes in EWM. The one of the storage processes, process-oriented storage control. So in short, we call it as POSC. So what does it mean, and what EWM provides us, right? So for example, okay, consider you have a warehouse, right? So this is one of the flow diagram of one of the warehouse, right? So here you can see my truck is arriving. Okay, my truck is arriving, and what I'm doing, I'm performing the unloading over here, right? So after unloading, okay, I'm not directly moving my stock from my unloading area to my available for sale area, right? In between, there are a lot of activities which I am performing. So I'm performing the counting, or maybe I need to perform a quality inspection, right? So there is a intermediate step which is needed, okay, before I actually move my goods from my unloading area to my available for sale area, right? So this is the process, right? So for what we do first, we do first unloading, then we do staging, then what we do, we perform a quality inspection. Once the quality inspection is done, then I perform the put away, right? So I need to follow a certain process in my warehouse, right, to make sure that I do a put away in a correct way. So how do we configure this in a system, right? So in a conventional normal way, okay, if you don't go with the process oriented storage controls and all, then you will have to manually, user will have to control a lot of things. So user will have to first say that, okay, I have done the unloading. Now he will have to again do some activity to move it to the quality inspection. Then again, he will manually have to move the pallets or the handling units or the stock, I would say the box, from the quality inspection to the available for sale. But everything, whatever is over here, can be automated, right? So how we can automate it? That we can automate it using a process called as process oriented storage control, right? So the process which undergoes multiple process steps from one stage to another. That is what I mean by process oriented storage control. So if we configure this, if we map it in our system, then system automatically tells to the user what he needs to do. Okay, user don't have to apply their brains. Okay, system will tell them, okay, that if so and so product is received, then what you need to do, whether you need to move it to this quality inspection or you don't have to move it to the quality inspection. After you have done the quality inspection, whether it should go into the available for sale or it should go into some rejection area, something like that, right? So that is one of the powerful tool which EWM provides. That is called as the process oriented storage control, right? One more point, okay, or one more storage process which EWM has is, which is called as the LOSC, that is a layout oriented storage control. So what is LOSC? LOSC is a storage process used to carry out movement of goods through multiple points based on the physical layout and the constraint of the warehouse. Okay, it may feel a bit difficult for you to understand right now, okay, by looking into this definition, but just simply try to imagine a scenario. Okay, so let's say this is my pallet storage, right? But before I actually move my boxes or my stock or my material to this particular storage area, I will have to keep it somewhere in here, right? So my pallet storage or my this storage area is, let's say, on the first floor, for example, right? We have a ground floor and we have a first floor, right? So before I move my stock to the first floor, I will have to definitely store my goods somewhere near the lift in a warehouse, right? So that lift is nothing but my intermediate point, right? Before I move my stock from the quality area to my final first floor area, I will be keeping my handling units or my stock at the intermediate area, right? Then from intermediate area, I will move it to my first floor, right? So I have a midway, or I have a midpoint where I will have to first move the goods, and from there it will be moved ahead. Why? Because my storage area is in the first floor, right? So what the user who is working to move the pallets or the stock from counting area to the ground floor or to the lift is a different user, right? So his job is only to move a stock from this area to the lift area, right? And the another user will come and he will move the goods from the lift to the first floor, and then he will do a final put away, right? So those kind of processes, right, of moving the goods from one place to another using some intermediate points can be mapped in EWM very easily using a concept called as layout oriented storage control, right? So again, if I read this, it's a storage process used to carry out movement of the goods through multiple points, as I said, right? So in this example also, I showed you that it's a multiple point. Before we go move the goods to the first floor, it needs to be placed near the lift, and then from lift it will be moved to the first floor. So it's a movement of goods through multiple points, right, based on your physical layout. Okay, so if you have two-story warehouse, right, and if you want to store your goods on the second floor, then you will have two intermediate points, right? One will be at the ground floor, another one will be at the first floor. So that way, depending on the warehouse, we need to decide, okay, how many points will be there or how many intermediate points will be there in our warehouse. And based on that, we can automate the things by making use of this layout-oriented storage control, right? So these are the two very important processes in EWM. I would say, as I said, these are the core or the heart of the EWM, and you should be aware of it, right? This is the must, and we will definitely go through this in details whenever we start our course. Yeah. So that was the basic of POSC and the LOSC. Right now, some quick overview of how EWM works. Okay, now we are talking about the embedded EWM, right? Embedded in the sense, in the same system we will be having our ERP. By ERP I mean our ECC, where we actually create the purchase orders or sales orders and all, right? So that is what I mean by ERP. And in EWM is our system where we actually perform our warehousing related activities, right? So when we say embedded means everything is happening in the same system, right? So how it works in EWM? Okay, so the first thing, so the inbound flow basically. So what is inbound? If we are trying to receive the goods in our warehouse against the purchase order, right, then this is the basic flow what we will have in the EWM. So first what we need to do is, or what generally business does is, the trigger point, okay, for any of the inbound process will be creating of the purchase order, right? So we create a purchase order in ERP. Then based on the purchase order, the inbound delivery is created. Right now, what is inbound delivery? We can go into the details later. But inbound delivery is basically the shipping notification, basically, right? So purchase order is created for a supplier, right, for a vendor. So once the vendor receives the purchase order, he will send us the confirmation that, okay, I have received your purchase order and I will be shipping the goods, okay, on so and so date and all that. So that is the shipping notification. So based on that, we create the inbound delivery, or our material management guys create the inbound delivery in the system, right? Now, this is the trigger point for EWM. So once the inbound delivery is created in ERP, it gets replicated to EWM. Okay, so in EWM here you see we have the inbound delivery replicated, right? Now the warehousing activity gets started. Right now, there could be a lot of different steps available in between. We can go through this in detail, but just to give you an overview, let's say we have received an inbound delivery. So what users will do now? They will perform the good receipts. Okay, so they will perform the unloading. Right after unloading is performed, what will happen? Again, you see there is one more trigger which is going to ERP. Right, so what will happen in EWM? We have done the GR. So our both the system should be in sync, right? So if you are performing a GR in EWM, then obviously in ERP or in ECC, a material document, okay, a 101 movement type against the purchase order should get posted, right? So you see the GR information will get updated in ECC as well the moment my warehouse operator performs the unloading, right? So after unloading, okay, what he will do? He will move the stock to my final destination area. It could be a pallet storage, it could be a bulk storage, it could be a shelf storage, or whatever it is, right? So that is my internal warehouse activity, and this has nothing to do with the ERP, right? So that's why you see there are no transmissions or there are no interfaces going back to ERP after point number 4. Okay, only here we are sending the information to ECC or ERP. Okay, we perform a GR, that's it. So ERP role is done. After this, everything is in EWM. So there are a lot of things we do. We have a concept of warehouse tasks, warehouse orders, and all that, but we will see that later. But this is what we do. After performing the unloading of the goods, we move it to the final destination area, right? That is what we mean by put away. So this is how our inbound flow looks like in EWM, right? Same way, the outbound flow, right? So outbound flow, how does it trigger? It triggers by creating a sales order, right? So in ERP, our sales guys will create a sales order. Then against a sales order, outbound delivery will be created, right? Then once this outbound delivery is created, okay, this will be replicated to EWM, right? And once it is replicated to EWM, then you see all warehousing activities will get performed, right? So once the outbound delivery is available, okay, there are certain things which will happen in EWM, okay, like we have a lot of different concepts of waves and all this we will see later. But just to understand the flow, what will happen once the outbound delivery is available, okay, for the warehouse operator, what he will do, he will start performing the picking, right? Just imagine operationally, don't go by the system flow, okay? Let's see, assume I'm a operator, right? I have received the delivery, okay? Then what I'll do, I'll see that, okay, what needs to be picked, okay? So I'll start performing the picking, okay? So once I complete my picking, I will move my goods to my PGI area or my outbound staging area, which we saw in the warehouse layout, right? So I will move it to some outbound staging area, right? And here I will confirm that, okay, now I can perform the PGI, that is post goods issue. I will perform a goods issue, right? Now I'm performing a goods issue in EWM. That means the same information needs to be replicated to ERP as well, right? Because both the system needs to be in sync. When I perform a goods issue, the stock will get reduced, right, in our warehouse. So the information needs to be updated in ERP also, right? So that's the reason you see this interface. After I do a PGI, the interface is getting triggered, okay, to ERP. Yeah, so this is a basic outbound flow which we generally follow in EWM, right? So we saw a basic inbound flow, we saw basic outbound flow. This is how it works in EWM. I explained you a concept of process-oriented storage control. Okay, what is process-oriented storage control? What is layout-oriented storage control, right? And then in EWM, we have a lot of different functionalities. I mean, it's very difficult even to give a high level overview of everything, okay, in this 1 hour session, right? But I'm just touching on a few of the important functionalities which EWM provides, right? This is also one of the important functionality which EWM provides, that is a deconsolidation, right? So what do you mean by deconsolidation, right? So forget about system. Just imagine, okay, you are ordering you're working on a beverage industry, okay, and you are ordering some bottles of I would say Pepsi, right? And you also order the bottles of Coke. So your supplier, what does they do? They supply you everything in one box, okay? So in one box you have lot of different products. You have a Pepsi bottles also, you have a thumbs up bottles also, and you have Limca bottles also, everything, right? So what can you just move this particular box, okay, which is having a mix of products into your final destination area, right? It is not good, right? Because if you just do that, then it will be very difficult when I want to perform the picking. Let's say if you receive an order for shipping out thumbs up bottles, then you will have to search in your warehouse, okay, where are the boxes? Then you need to open the boxes, and in that box also, then again you will have to search, okay, which one is my thumbs up bottle and which one is where is my Pepsi bottle and all that stuff, right? So to avoid those kind of situation in EWM, what we can do, we can configure a system in such a way that system will automatically identify if you are receiving a box which is having a mix of product, then it will propose you that, okay, before going into your final destination storage type, okay, or your final destination storage area, please perform some deconsolidation. Okay, so deconsolidation meaning, so based on the product, so what system will say that, okay, move all your thumbs up bottles into box number 1, move all your Pepsi bottles into box number 2, right? So system will ask you to do that. Unless you do it, it will not allow you to move your box into the final storage area. Okay, so this, what system will do, it will propose, first go into this deconsolidation work center or a work area or a storage area, perform those deconsolidation activities, and once you perform those deconsolidation activities, then only you will be allowed to move your goods to the final storage area, right? So this is an automation step, right? Users don't have to apply their minds, okay? We can set up a system in such a way that system will understand, depending on our configuration, whether this particular box needs to go through this deconsolidation process or not, right? So this we can achieve easily in the EWM world, right? So that is the process called as deconsolidation. Okay, then uh, Okay, so there are a few master data stuff and all, I think, which is not important for this particular session, but just a quick update, like in embedded EWM, right? So we are talking about the embedded EWM. So everything is in the one box, right? So here we really don't have to worry about master data much, because since it is an embedded one, so whenever a material master or a vendor master or a customer master or a business partner, I would say, is created in ERP, it will also be available for EWM. I mean, there is no need for separate replication of master data from one system to another. Those kind of replications are needed only if you are using some decentralized EWM, meaning a different box altogether. Right, so we don't have to worry about it. So for us in embedded, you will see that whenever we will start working or whenever we start testing the scenarios, you will see whenever we create a material master, it will also be available in EWM. Only thing is we just need to add some warehouse related data in our material master or in any of our this vendor master or a customer master. Yeah. So these are the few important points which I wanted to cover. So I'll take a pause and I'll request if you have any questions, then you can just ask. Okay. Anyone, if you want to clarify something or if you want to have more information on a specific point, then we can I can elaborate that as well.
So Amit, question David here, and I have a question